I hear all the time from friends how they are completely broke and put everything on their credit card because they have like $5 in their bank account. And I always wondered what causes that to happen when I know that they're making a consistent income. So I started asking around, and after talking to a bunch of my friends, I started to notice a lot of commonalities and mistakes that they were making with their money. So today we're gonna take a look at 5 money mistakes that you absolutely want to avoid in your 20s, including one mistake that could cost you $1 million or more in your future that you definitely want to avoid. Let's jump right into it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate you clicking on this video, and I really think you're going to enjoy today's content, especially if you're in your late teens or in your 20s. If you're new, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. So the first and most common money mistake that I have noticed with my friends in their 20s is not keeping track of your finances. Now, I talked about this briefly in a previous video, but I personally use the app Mint to keep track of my finances and budget everything. I understand that a strict budget is not for everyone, and I will agree that it's not necessary to track every single penny. That being said, you absolutely need to know how much money you're making and how much money you're spending in each category if you're going to have any financial success. I personally would recommend trying a few different methods, whether that be the mobile apps that I recommended, or even trying the envelope method that we talked about in a previous video. Again, you may not need to budget every single month for the rest of your life, but keeping track of your finances for a few months will allow you to get an idea of where you're spending your money and figure out why you have so little left at the end of the month if that is the case for you. The second money mistake I see is technically a mistake that you make in your late teens, and that is taking on crazy amounts of student loan debt. Again, I'm not saying that college is pointless, because it absolutely is not, and education does have a lot of value in the marketplace today. But it just isn't necessary to take on hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt just to get a degree that you could have got for a fraction of the cost. The belief that a better, more expensive degree will yield a higher paying job is statistically inaccurate and only has a few exceptions for the top Ivy League schools in certain fields. That means for 99% of the population, an affordable degree from an in-state college is more than enough to get whatever job you want in your field. I've also learned that the money as far as scholarships is definitely out there, you just need to know where to find it. In high school, I used an app called Scholly and spent hours every single day applying for various scholarships. Even if you spend 100 hours applying for scholarships and only earn 5 $1,000 scholarships for your efforts, this still breaks down to $50 an hour without accounting for the interest that you would pay if you had to take that amount out in a loan. So trust me when I say applying for scholarships is definitely worth your while and something that you want to take advantage of. The key is to apply for a large number of scholarships because it really only takes a few successful applications to make it worth your time. That being said, college is not for everyone, like I've said before, and if you think that you may want to try an alternative career option, then now is the time to do it. If you want some ideas for the best career options that do not require a college degree, then check out my previous video where we looked at the highest paying jobs where you don't need a formal education. Despite what our society pushes on teenagers, there are plenty of high-paying jobs outside of the traditional normal college pathway. I have a friend who went to trade school for plumbing and now makes over $150,000 a year and had absolutely no student loan debt from his training. Trade jobs like plumbers and electricians are in extremely high demand and can be a great option if you don't want to attend college. The third money mistake I see people making in their 20s is having a ridiculously expensive car loan. I hope you know this by now, but you should never ever buy a brand new car unless your net worth is in the multi-millions, because the amount of depreciation that happens in the first few years of a car's life is substantial and often leads people into an upside down loan. Being upside down in your car loan means that you owe more on the loan than what the car is currently worth. Obviously, this is a pretty bad situation to be in and is something that you definitely want to avoid at all costs. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go buy some old beat up piece of crap, but even just getting a car that is 3 or 4 years old means that you'll be able to avoid most of that depreciation and get yourself a great car at an even better price. Personally, I don't think you should ever take on a car loan, but if you do, my general rule of thumb is that the total cost of the car, which includes gas, maintenance, the actual car payment itself, and your insurance, should be no more than 10% of your pre-tax income each month. So if you make $5,000 a month before taxes, then the total cost of owning your car should be no more than $500 a month. But like I said, you would be much better off saving up and buying that car in cash, since investing this $500 a month could turn into millions of dollars in your future. The main thing to remember is that you should never buy a new car, and you should never have a car expense that exceeds 10% of your monthly pre-tax income. The fourth mistake I commonly see that is rarely talked about is avoiding risk. And by this I mean being too afraid to go out on a limb, whether that be in your career or in your investments. From an investment standpoint, younger investors have a huge advantage, not only because they have time on their side, but also because they can afford to take on a lot more risk since they have more time to recover should something go wrong. Now, I'm definitely not saying that you should be playing the lottery or day trading your entire investment account, but making some more aggressive investments can be a great way to accelerate your net worth at a young age. An individual who is close to retirement does not have the ability to take on this substantial risk, since any significant losses won't have enough time to recover by the time they plan to retire. So take advantage of the time that is ahead of you and take some risks with your investments. Maybe this means purchasing some high dividend individual stocks rather than just putting all your money in a diversified index fund. You always want to keep your main portfolio in diversified funds, but taking 10 to 15% of your investments and putting them into speculative stocks can yield a significantly higher return if you have the time to keep track of these investments. As you get older, you can decrease your amount of risk by investing in more bonds and less stocks. But for now, don't be afraid to take on higher levels of risk and take chances with your investments. It could have a huge impact on your financial success in the future. And lastly, the biggest mistake that could cost you millions of dollars is waiting to start investing. This is probably the most common mistake that most people don't even realize that they're making. Like I said earlier, time is the biggest asset to a young investor, and the difference between starting when you're 20 and starting when you're 30 can be substantial. For example, if you invested $100 a week at an 8% annual return starting when you're 20 years old, your investment would be worth $1.86 million by the time you're 65. However, if you instead waited till you were 30 years old to make that same 8% investment with $100 a week, your account would only be worth $822,000 when you're 65. That is literally a $1 million mistake by waiting 10 years to start investing. Even if you can't afford $100 a week right now, put in as much as you can and start averaging into your portfolio. Remember that you'll likely also earn dividends on your investments, which can then be used to purchase more of whatever fund you're invested in. And don't waste your time trying to time the market and buying at the absolute bottom. There's no way to tell where the market will be 10 days or even 10 months from now. But over a 20-year period, the S&P 500 has never once yielded a negative return. So buying and holding for a long period of time is by far the best investment strategy. You also want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the 401k employee match if that is something that your employer offers, since it's literally free money that can significantly increase your income. But even if a 401k is not something that you currently have access to, anyone over the age of 18 can open a Roth IRA or individual retirement account and fund it at up to $6,000 a year. This is more than enough to build a $1 million portfolio by the time you're 65, and you can do this with as little as $10 a day. Even waiting just 1 year can equal hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost profits in your future portfolio. So do some research and then make your investment ASAP. So those are the 5 most common money mistakes that I've noticed with my friends who are in their 20s. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, but it really comes down to common sense and making wise choices with where you're spending and investing your money. Remember, every dollar invested now will be worth $21 40 years from now. So keep that in mind next time you go to buy something that you might not actually need. Let me know down in the comments section if there are any strategies that you think I forgot, and let me know what investments you're using to better your financial future. Thank you so much for your time. Be sure to subscribe and smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.